Hello monsters and welcome! For tonight, I have 3 chilling Halloween stories to share with you all. So have your pumpkin pails ready for this special treat. And without further ado, let the Halloween stories begin. Celebrating Halloween was never a thing in my family. I never had the experience of walking house to house and used the phrase trick or treat to receive candy. My scariest experience had taken place on All Hallows Eve. The night had just begun and I could hear the laughter of the children passing my house. It sounded like so much fun, but my parents would not let me attend. And they would also turn off the porch lights to let those who participated know to stay away. To my parents, Halloween was a devil's night. I wanted to attend, but after this particular Halloween night, I could not help but be glad that I was never involved. It started with faint screams. The murderous screams were coming not far from our house. My parents opened the front door, and by doing so, this allowed those screams to amplify. The screams turned into cries of pain as my mom and dad rushed towards the source. I followed close behind without being noticed. We had ended up in our neighbor's front yard after the cries had stopped. The neighbor was standing on the bottom step of his front porch, wearing nothing but an open bathrobe, holding a plastic pumpkin pail full of candy. He stared down and laughed as he tossed candy into the hand-dug hole. My mother had let out a horrific scream as she approached the hole and the neighbor. My dad grabbed her and covered her eyes as he told her not to look. I peeked from behind them and saw what had them all panicked. There were 2 children in that hole, but they had not just simply fell in, no. Our neighbor had placed rebar and wood that had been carved to points in the hole. Those poor kids. One of them had been impaled through the inner groin and out of the front of the stomach. The other kid had suffered a neck wound and was also impaled, but through the side of the rib cage. The kids screamed wildly as they were removed from the hole by the EMS. The police arrested our neighbor. To this day, the phrase trick or treat will always remind me of that terrifying night. I will never go trick or treating again. This may change in time, but not this Halloween. Because of what happened last year, my doors will remain locked tonight. For tonight is the 1-year anniversary of my friend's death. Let me start from the beginning. Last year, I had gotten all ready to do some trick-or-treating. The road I live on does not have many houses, just lots of trees. But the neighborhood down about a mile had plenty of houses. I had made my way down the dim lit road far enough to where my house had vanished behind the hill. Excited, I pressed on. And that is when I saw the scarecrow lying in the ditch just off to my right. I stopped, looked at it for a moment. It was abnormal the way it laid so unnaturally. It appeared to be broken, but peering into the black, coal-colored eye sockets chilled me as it gave the scarecrow so much realism. Getting a move on, I walked past the disturbing sack of hay. I was not about to waste time messing with the creepy thing, but as I walked away, it felt as if it was staring at me. Had finally made it to the neighborhood. I had met up with my best friend. We had gathered so much candy. Halloween this far had been spectacular. My plastic pail was full, so I decided to head back home for the night. Inviting himself, my friend tagged along with me on my walk. We had made our way down the road. "Hey, look, a scarecrow," my friend said. I had forgotten all about the hideous thing. I was spooked by the very sight of it. It looked like it had moved. My friend was making his way toward the damn thing. I was too late. He grabbed the stick-like arm and gave it a yank. Pulled it right off. "Let's go, man," I said. I tried to take the scarecrow arm away from him. We wrestled a bit for it, and that's when I found myself stepping on the hay-stuffed torso of the scarecrow. "Damn it, man, this thing gives me the creeps," I told him. He looked at me and simply gave up, replying back to me with a "Fine, let's go." We were off once more. Once at my house, and after spending time chowing down on candy and playing video games for an hour, my friend was ready to leave. My mom had offered him a ride, but he refused her offer with a no thanks. "See you tomorrow," was the last thing he said or will ever say to me. Because the following day, a police officer stopped by my house. My mom invited the cop in. He had wanted to talk to me, ask me a few questions. My friend had been murdered that night after leaving my house. They had found his body dismembered and broken, laying in an unrecognizable manner in the ditch just up the road, right where the scarecrow was laying. I asked if there was a scarecrow there. Maybe it did it. There was no sight of the scarecrow, only the body of my friend laying in the ditch. I don't say much more about it anymore. My parents told me that they would have to lock me up in an asylum if I talk about the scarecrow. Maybe they're right. But finding the small torn drape of jute material laying in front of my bedroom door this morning has me in question once more. Because on the material was written, "You got away, but I see you now. Trick or treat." Halloween night, 1993. I had met up with some friends from the neighborhood. We went out as a group to do some trick-or-treating. This was really fun for me. The parents of the neighborhood had gotten together and decided to take trick-or-treating to the next level and added a Halloween treasure hunt. All our neighbors were in on it, even our new neighbors, the Fitzgeralds. Having made our way to all the houses on my road, not only did we get to do the old routine of rushing up to doors and ringing the doorbells and collecting our share of candy, we were also given little treasure maps that had simple enough directions for any kid to understand. The map showed us where the special treats were hidden in the yard. The special treats would be from anywhere to a full-size candy bar to a plastic spider ring. The hunt was fun. The group and I were the first to visit the Fitzgerald's house. Making our way to the front porch, we were greeted with a pail of candy that sat on a red rocking chair just in front of the front door. I was first of the group to reach the candy. Grabbing my share, I noticed the folded up note card inside the pail. There was only one note card, so this must be some prize, I had thought. I showed the group as I unfolded the slip of paper. It was a drawing of a tree with jack-o'-lanterns underneath it. There was also an arrow drawn pointing up beside the picture of the tree, with the words trick or treat written on it with red ink. Looking out into the front yard, I catch sight of the large, thick magnolia tree. It had favored the drawing of the tree in the note for sure. The treasure must be up in the tree, I thought. None of my friends cared to climb up the tree, so I did. It was nothing for me. I love to climb trees. The magnolia tree had low enough branches to grab onto, so it was easy getting my first step onto a low branch. The tree was thick, and with the large leaves, no light came in to help me see. My green glow stick was my only light source. It had given a creepy green hue to my surroundings. That's when I noticed the wetness of the next branch I had grabbed onto. Making my way up further, the branches had become thin and shaky. With every shake of a limb, the drops of liquid sprinkled my face from above. It felt like raindrops falling on me. Was it raining? I had to be 3/4 up in the tree when I saw another folded note. It was perched on a branch with a red string tied to it. On the outside of the note, it read, "Happy Halloween." I was excited for my prize at this point. I picked up and unfolded the note, only to read, "She should have listened." It was at that moment I could hear the sound of something swinging all around me. I shined my glow stick, and in horror, I noticed a torso with the belly sliced open, allowing the intestines to dangle out, swinging and smacking up against what seemed to be other body parts that also swung and swayed near me. I screamed as I made my first step down to a lower branch. The thin branch I stepped on snapped. Grabbing out for anything, my hands made contact with a fleshy, hairy object. And then I hit the ground. I could hear my friends screaming at that point. I opened my eyes to see Mrs. Fitzgerald's decapitated head laying face to face with me. Her lower jaw was limp as it laid open. Her eyes, glassed over, stared back at me. I must have grabbed onto it as I fell to the ground. The police were called, and the murder is still under investigation. Mr. Fitzgerald is the prime suspect, but no one has heard or seen from him. This was my scariest Halloween night ever. What's Halloween without a little blood and gore? I hope you guys enjoyed these Halloween stories. And also, what's your favorite kind of candy for Halloween? Be sure to leave those comments below. Thanks again for watching, monsters. Till next time.
You know life could be so sweet.